It was the second they get an inch for somebody else to come in and say, "Poof, get rid of them." I was right about them. Get rid of them. That's what they do. And that's the nature of what this is.
So I guess it was around that time that you started transitioning into the office.
Yeah, I guess. I knew. I never had long-term plans of being like a WWE lifer. I know that's crazy to people when they say that, but I always envisioned my life winding up exactly the way it has now. You know, I'm 46. I've been in the wrestling business for almost 26 years. Haven't been active in it really for 10, just on and off, so I don't even want to count that. But I've been out of wrestling and not full-time in it for way longer than I was in it. So people forget that. Like, there's so much more to life than just being in a national showcase. It just, I don't know. But I was sharp. I had a college resume, college college background, degrees. Johnny Ace liked me a lot. I liked Vince. Everybody liked me. They were relaunching ECW, and Tommy Dreamer, who never wanted to be in the office, was leaving. He said, "Hey, you want to run developmental?" They sat me in the office one day. They said, "You want to do it?" I said, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's see what we can do." Right then and there, the second I did that, that was my last match was against Bob Holly in a dark match. I walked out of the ring. I didn't have a ceremony. I didn't do anything. I didn't really tell anybody. I knew that was going to be the last match I ever wrestled for them. I never looked back, never blinked. I didn't sit back, what was me? I looked at a new challenge. 2 weeks later, I jumped in head first and said, because there was no developmental system at that point. There was OVW and Deep South, which was barely surviving because that was a train wreck. And that was it.
What was the main differences between you and Tommy Dreamer, the way it was?
Tommy never wanted to do it. Tommy's heart was in the ring. I went in there, foolish me, gung-ho, trying to do my job. That was the longest year of my life. It was the worst year of my life, dude. It was terrible. I was, newly married a couple years, moving up here. You just really realize how absolutely insecure and paranoid so many professional wrestlers are. Guys that I knew for years, all of a sudden just flipped a switch. They hated me because I was an office guy. I couldn't get them a job. I couldn't get them a raise. Or when people had to get fired, like all of a sudden magically I could fire people. I never fired anybody. I hired a lot of guys. I hired Kofi Kingston, Santino Marella, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Serena helped. A lot of the people I can help that I get hired, Rick Lon Stevens, a bunch of dudes. Yeah, TJ, Nat helped all those guys out. They were all great, don't get me wrong, but there were so many people that were just so it's just selfish and paranoid. I don't really blame them because they're in the system, but man, it reinforced what I had always suspected, and that's why I live with a clean conscience now. That there's so many people that I don't talk to. I'm cool with a lot of guys, but I'm friends with very few. And that's by design. I don't ever want to hear the words ever again. You have heat with this guy or that guy or that. I could care less, Devin. Yeah. I could absolutely care less. I left that all behind 10 years ago. My life is great how it is. Except the Cowboys aren't winning as much as I like them to do. But other than that, man, back then at that time, I went in full of piss and vinegar. I tacked it the best I could. Mistakes were made all around. And it's just one of those things where I guess I don't even know what the system resembles today. I have no clue. It's closer to what I always envisioned it to be. I never saw it. When I go down to Florida again next year, I'll probably hit up Scotty or Carino and go see it. I only saw it for about 2 seconds one day, but I want to go on more of a tour and check it out and see what it became.
And what exactly were your duties as the head of developmental?
Babysitter, psychiatrist, money psychiatrist, complaint listener, hand holder, fire putter outer. That's it. For every person like a Cody Rhodes or a Katarina Higgins, Katie Lee, who would call me and want an honest critique or to help them come up with something, I had 10 others who constantly bitched, cried, complained, threw other people under the bus, trainers, this, that. They all wanted to pitch 20 different ideas for themselves to be in main events. It was just one nonsense thing after another. The majority, I liked a lot of them, but the majority of the talents were delusional, and they weren't willing to work hard. And there was a lot of people who just cried constantly, and it pissed me off. They were disrespectful at times, and I just felt like this isn't. It changed quick. Like 2 or 3 months into that, I'm like, I made a mistake, big time. My money got cut. WB completely, and I don't know who got the screws crossed on this one, but I was making half of what I was making as a talent. I was told I could do the seminars, I could do all this and all. I couldn't do any of those, even though Dreamer did them. Everything completely, the script completely flipped and changed. Every day I had to read another report about how somebody hated me. I had heat with this guy or that guy, and there was a bunch of other guys behind the scenes in WWE who envisioned that job like, oh my God, they thought you'd been made at that point. Like, you're a made guy, you're in the office, and it was a complete opposite. Like, you had to start all over again. I got treated like a piece of shit. And Johnny was good to me. Johnny Ace was good. Vince was always cool to me. Steph was cool, but just the underlyingness of it, I wasn't really ready to be an executive then. Now, but it just sucked, man. I had so many people constantly bitch and complain. It was just nuts, Devin. My phone would ring at 1 o'clock and this guy got arrested. This guy needed to be bailed out. This guy didn't show up at practice. This guy wanted to do this. And I would rather run a preschool with 30 kids and be responsible from that than ever be in charge of that again. I don't know how the trainers do it now. It's a completely different vibe, I guess, but I would lose my mind. I'd kill somebody.
I think there's more trainers now too.
I'm glad. I know there's Carino, John Moss, and Brookside, and Norman, and Scotty, and all these other. That's great, man. Sarah Del Rey. There's a think tank. I hope so, because back then there was one guy pretty much running it all. I lost sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, I was depressed. It was just, I was miserable to be around. I was always on edge, constantly worried about something. And
did you have to review tapes too?
And then the tapes that would come in from the people that were trying to get jobs at WWE, they were so bad at times. I was in the 4th floor of Stanford Tower. There were times that it was so bad watching these tapes that I looked out the window and thought to myself, if I throw myself out this window right now, I don't know if I'll die, but I'll probably be really injured, so I don't have to watch these tapes anymore. That's how bad it was. That's how absolutely mind-numbing it was to see what they thought would pass for good stuff. The people that would send them in. Yeah. And I was like, man, what am I doing here? I didn't feel like I'm making a difference at all.
What about extras? Were you also in charge of those?
That was cool. That was the only thing I liked doing. I had an extra list, and I had extras all over the country, and I had the bookers of those extras, whether it was Bassman or D'Amore, Bill Behrens, POD, who booked all the little people, or Short Sleeve Samson, who helped me. Like these, I would reach out to these guys and they would find me extras, and I get them booked for the day. I got them $150, let them go to the show. Maybe try to get hired, who knows. But I would say within probably less than 2 months of doing that job, I couldn't wait to get out. And I was already asking to leave. Within 2 months, I was like, look, I'm not going back and be a talent. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm getting a mortgage license. I'm getting into finance. I don't want to do this anymore. 2 months in, I was already asking to leave. That's why I kept my house here.